Right, your maintenance phase and why this is critical for your long-term success. Remember, it's not about weight loss, it's about losing weight and keeping it off. That means that if you take into consideration, if you actually dissect what does that actually mean, what does losing weight and keeping it off mean? It means that you've found some sort of way to have sustainability and enjoyability in your lifestyle, that you can lose the body fat and maintain it permanently. I'm sure you all know that you've lost weight in the diet before, but you always put the weight back on. There's a reason for that, and I'm going to try and break that down and why the maintenance phase now is critical for long-term success, and also for people who think, you know what, I like what happened, I'm going to do it again, or I'm going to do it more often, I'm going to do it regularly. We'll come to that as well too. So maintenance, what we're going to do is, in case anybody doesn't have it, I'm going to send a wee link for a NutriCheck. It's a calorie counting app. We're going to count the calories over the next 3 weeks. Now, whenever you're loading in the information here, don't put in weight loss, put in maintenance, right? There's a difference. Put in maintenance calories. Your maintenance calories should be anything from about, this is a rough ballpark figure, remember it's going to be different for every individual, depending on your age, height, weight and activity, but it'll be roughly between 1800 and 2000 calories, roughly. Well, we say 1800 calories. 1800 calories, ladies, is a lot of calories. I mean, if you can't maintain on that, you know, there's something terribly wrong. And again, see, when I say terribly wrong, these things are real. Say comfort eating, emotional eating, boredom, they're all real stuff. Again, for women who are still have the proper menstrual cycle, when you get to a certain time of the month, your progesterone is going to go nuts and you are going to get sugar cravings. That's real. That's not lack of willpower, lack of discipline. That's a real hormonal effect. Progesterone regulates blood sugars. So when progesterone starts to fluctuate, your blood sugars go up and down and you will crave chocolate. That's why you crave chocolate at a certain time. That's real. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't try and don't guilt trip yourself into feeling bad because you had that. That's a normal part of your monthly cycle. So don't worry about it. For women who struggle with that, what I would suggest is dieting or calorie restriction for 3 weeks and then taking a week maintenance to go through that phase. But again, that's a different topic, but just to give you a wee bit of awareness. So what we're looking at here with the maintenance phase for 3 weeks. Now, the maintenance phase here means that we've got exactly the same calories coming in over the 3 weeks, right? Consistently over the 3 weeks. Now, being realistic, again, everything's always good in paper, but we've got to be realistic. What does that mean realistically? It means taking into account for your weekends. So if I know the weekends, me and Izzy, we're going to have a bottle of wine and get takeaway, and it's going to take me over my calories, then I have to work out how many calories that is. So what I do is I'll sit down with my pen and paper and go, right, in worst case scenario, let's say I had a really indulgent weekend, something happened, a friend came around, went out for dinner, something happened, how many calories does that look like? Right. So if I say it's, just to make the numbers easy, say it's 1,000 calories, right? Well, then Monday to Friday, I'm going to reduce my maintenance by 200. That means by the total week, you've averaged out at the 1,800. Does that make sense? That's the way we have to look at it. So as long as you average out on your maintenance, it doesn't mean it has to be that every day. We can calorie cycle to suit your lifestyle, and this is where it becomes very individual. This is why diets don't work, because a cookie cutter diet, some of the people here follow that, they haven't taken into account your social life, your family life, your hormonal profile, where you are, any of those things. So this is where it now has to be very individual to you. So you sit there and go, right, here's my maintenance number average, what do I have to work around, right? Because it's not about going, oh, I had a bad weekend, the diet's not working. It's not about going, but I'm going to a wedding, so I'm not going to bother my hours. What we do is we work around it. And even if it happens that you couldn't foresee, let's say you went in your maintenance all week, Saturday happened, it was over, well then the following week, next week, cut back and make up for it. Remember, it's just numbers, it's just energy balance, guys, it's just energy balance. There is no such thing as a good food, a bad food, too much or too little, just trying to find balance overall. So if you had a high day Saturday, Sunday, have a low day Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they count for it and bring it back up. Overall, it might be low calories for those 2 days, but overall the space of the 3 weeks it's been maintenance. Does that make sense? Now, why is this important? One of the big things that will happen whenever you try to lose weight, and this is one of the issues that we have with things like Ozempic and all those weight loss of secretagogues and stuff, they lose muscle tissue. You lose a lot of muscle. Say someone who's going on a diet, say 6-week diet, 8-week diet, and they lose a stone, right? Just these numbers, just picking these numbers out. Up to 30 to 40% of that weight will be muscle weight, right? Now, why is this important? guys, you have to listen to this. This is critical here. This is critical for your longevity, for your health, and for your long-term success. Right? Your muscle is what you're made of. That will determine your metabolic rate. Right? So if you start losing muscle in a diet, you're obviously going to start to reduce your metabolism. Your metabolism is going to drop as your muscle mass drops. Your maintenance calories now changes down low. So your calorie deficit no longer becomes a calorie deficit because your maintenance has changed. Right? So for example, if my maintenance was 3,000 and I go on a 12-week diet, by the end of the 12-week diet, my maintenance is probably 2,000 because it was in such a calorie restriction for so long. My body, as a survival mechanism, adapts and reduces the amount of calories I need to stay alive to try and balance with the amount of food that's coming in. It's called energy balance, homeostasis. This is how we survive in the environment. All right, so we don't want that to happen. We want to have a rampant metabolic rate. So over the 3 weeks, if we do maintenance calories, and then we also focus on about 100 grams of protein per day. Right, so whenever you're having your food, just make sure, go into your app and look, right, if I'm going to eat 3 times a day or 4 times a day, can I get about 25 to 30 grams of protein in each one of these meals? Prioritize that. Everything else that you eat doesn't really matter as long as you make over your calories. Literally, right? So if I'm having breakfast, I'm having eggs. If I'm having lunch, I'm having chicken salad. I'm having dinner. Can I have a bit of salmon or fish or meat or something? Can I prioritize the protein and then add the rest in before you go to bed? But a Greek yogurt, maybe add a scoop of protein. Add your 2 scoops of proteins give you 45 grams of protein. So even if you have one of those 2 scoops a day, you're still going to hit your calorie target, and that's going to keep the muscle tissue nice and healthy. So that means whenever we go into the next fasting challenge, for all intents and purposes, you're going to burn more body fat because you're going to do it with a faster metabolic rate. Does that make sense? So what we're trying to do here is to speed up the metabolism, burn as much body fat as we can in 5 days. Speed up the metabolism, burn as much body fat as we can in 5 days. We also get more enjoyability because we're eating more food, we're eating the food that we like, it's more sustainable, and we're not hyper focusing on food. I'm supposed to be in a diet, I'm supposed to be in a diet, I'm a bad person because I'm not in a diet, oh my god, I'm going to be fat, oh my god, maybe I'm just supposed to be fat all the time. No, we get rid of all that anxiety, get rid of all that stress around food, so we end up with a better relationship around food and a better relationship around ourselves because we're only focusing on the 5 days. Simple as that. It's not about what we should eat, what we shouldn't eat, apart from, yes, we want to prioritise protein because it's going to keep your muscle tissue nice and healthy and all that kind of stuff. Incidentally, anybody that does take weight loss sort of medication like Ozempic or something like that, as long as you prioritise your protein and your resistance training, you should be okay. I have a few ladies that I coach have taken it because they've really struggled with emotional eating, comfort eating, stuff like that. And what we do is we do a month on the low dose, a month off, month on the low dose, month off, prioritizing protein and resistance training, and we never put the weight back on. Right? That's how you keep it off. Because the biggest problem with Ozempic is you're losing up to 50% muscle tissue. Your body always rebounds to put that on. Your body's not trying to put fat back on, it's trying to put the muscle tissue back on because you need the muscle tissue. It's part of who you are. It's like somebody cutting off your arm and saying, right, we're going to try and grow the arm back. It's your muscle tissue. It's what keeps you alive, it keeps you working, builds your immune system. So the body will always try to put the muscle tissue back on. It can only do that in an energy surplus. So it'll make you overeat to build the muscle tissue, not because it wants you to be fat, although it does a wee bit, but when we're not supposed to be eating. But anyway, so does that make sense? So our maintenance phase now is about building muscle tissue, feeling nice and strong, feeling fit and healthy. So we're going to the next fasting challenge, looking forward, going, do you know what, I'm going to burn as much fat as possible. And even if you burn, let's say you burn 4 pounds in the 5 days, that's a pound a week over a space of a month without dieting. That sounds great to me. I can still enjoy my food, I can still do everything I want, I'm not hyper focused on a diet, I'm not worrying about the scales, I can just do the 5 days, have a good challenge doing it, and then relax the rest of the month. And that's a 1-1 situation. Now, why is this really important when we're going to perimenopause and menopause? When you're going to perimenopause and menopause, you're losing your anabolic hormones. You're losing your sex hormones, testosterone and estrogen. Progesterone as well, but more because of estrogen and progesterone. That means you are now entering life where you are sarcopenic. Your sarcopenia means muscle wastage due to lack of hormones. Men go through this as well too, with lack of testosterone. So just the second you go into perimenopause, you're fighting a losing battle anyway because your body's trying to burn off muscle tissue all the time. Elevated cortisol, which burns muscle tissue, everything is just catabolic, which means muscle breakdown all the time. If we then go on the chronic diet or Ozempic at that time, we're just losing more muscle tissue and more muscle tissue and more muscle tissue. And lady, I'm not exaggerating when I say this, this is taking anything from 10 to 20 years off your life. It's your muscle tissue, it's a healthy muscle tissue that's going to keep you living longer and stronger and healthier It's your muscle tissue that keeps you mobile and keeps you moving around the world. We need that. It's also the thing that's going to speed up your metabolism. So we'll actually burn, the more muscle we have, the more fat we burn, just sitting still. Does that make sense? So chronic dieting, especially when you're going to menopause and perimenopause especially, yes, you're losing weight in the scales, but it's muscle tissue. Again, like I said in the previous video, there's a difference between body fat and your overall weight. Women in menopause can't lose weight because the muscles just fucking deteriorating. And I mean at a rapid rate. And you're never getting it back unless you know what to do. And if you go too far, you're never going to recover from it anyway. Studies have shown that a woman in menopause, if she's bedridden in hospital for 3 weeks, just 3 weeks, will lose an amount of muscle tissue that's unrecuperable. Right? You cannot get it back because you've just lost so much, which is about 35% of the muscle mass is gone with 3 weeks sitting in bed still whenever your hormones are gone. That's death, literally. All right. So try and think about that. I'll put the wee link in here as well too for the NutriCheck app in case you don't have it. If you do have it, make sure you've set it to maintenance and not weight loss. If you don't know how to do that, maintenance will be 500 calories roughly above what you are. So if you're 1200, add 500. That's basically how it works. That's what the app does. The app just reduces 500 calories from your maintenance to give you lose 1 pound a week. So, because I mean, remember, 1 pound is 500. 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. Calorie deficit of 500 for 7 days, 3,500. Guys, it's just numbers. All right. Have a good day.